I guess the pivotal moment was just working with women that just felt so down on themselves, and all I saw was the beauty in them. They're coming in feeling so low and so down, and then, surgery is a big, big deal.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Brett back with another episode of the Aesthetics Growth Podcast, and today I'm really excited. We've got a powerhouse in the industry of aesthetics. I'm joined by Mika, and Mika is a board-certified advanced aesthetic nurse injector with a background in plastic surgery and a real passion, as I think we'll find out, for regenerative aesthetics. She's a true artist when it comes to those natural-looking, science-based aesthetic treatments. And Mika is also a key opinion leader and an influencer within the space. She's a trainer for Dermagel Solenis brand. And Mika not only delivers stunning results for her patients at TrueMD and Speakeasy Aesthetics, but also mentors injectors nationwide on advanced techniques. Also known as Injector Mika, she's an industry educator, speaker, and expert in aesthetics and regenerative medicine. Mika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful introduction. I'm so honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, Mika, I'm excited to dive into a little bit more about your journey. And I think it'd be awesome to hear about just, how that journey started and how you got started within the beautiful world of aesthetics.
Well, I started in aesthetics through plastic surgery. When I finished nursing school, I went straight into the OR, and I soon learned that my love in regenerative medicine and aesthetics, I think, came from a personal urge to kind of fight it all the way as far as aging is concerned. But more importantly, I found that as I was training people that were next to me or beside me or cheering them on, I developed a love for training. So it's kind of evolved from there.
Awesome, cool. I definitely, from speaking to you, the educator piece is very evident, and you spend a lot of time doing that. Was there anything in particular that really inspired you to get into the industry?
I found, being with my peers, that we all kind of had the same issues. We looked in the mirror and we weren't seeing that same face that we kind of expected to. Sometimes a little bit of neuromodulators, a little bit of tweaking here and there gives you just that little tiny bit of confidence where you're not dreading the mirror. You're not dreading being in pictures. I find that gift of confidence, if you can give it back to your patients, it's invaluable.
I love that, the gift of confidence. And I think that's really a cornerstone of the industry. I think people in industry kind of know about that. And that's one of the most important kind of results and deliverables. I think we can probably unpack that, a little bit more as we go here as well. Because when it comes to, your career, was there any particular defining moment in your career or a pivotal change that change direction for you?
Honestly, I started out thinking I'd be an ER nurse. I am kind of the personality that kind of thrives in chaos. But I guess the pivotal moment was just working with women that just felt so down on themselves, and all I saw was the beauty in them. And it comes across as you're doing consults for plastic surgery. They're coming in feeling so low and so down, and surgery is a big, big deal. So I guess, diverted towards aesthetics because there's so many things you can do regeneratively with PRP, with facials, with just skincare. Skincare alone can make a big impact on the quality of your skin and take some years off of you. And it was then, I think, that I kind of turned around and said, I can help parlay this information to patients and clients.
What's in what ways have you been able to do that? Is there any particular trends or sort of innovations, things that you found helpful to relay and to help your patients?
I think the most important thing to relay to patients is education. Even if I'm doing a treatment on them, a lot of clients don't realize that Botox is not filler, and filler is not the everything, and skincare is where to start. It's not about selling a particular brand. It's about the consistency of something as simple as sunscreen. and how important it is and how much impact the sun has on our skin and our aging. So,
Right.
I think it all starts with education and doing a complete and total treatment plan for them, whether it's something they can tackle and chew off right now. At least they see the complete picture from start to finish over a period of time, whether that's a year or several years or 6 months. It's really important to get that consultation down and educate your client.
Definitely a few things resonate with me there, especially as somebody who needs some protection when they're in the sun, but I think we all do. And something that you mentioned there as well with the education and putting together a true treatment plan. I'd love
Mhm.
to hear your approach to that, because a lot of practices struggle with that piece, with the quote unquote sales or putting together a true treatment plan that, guess what? It's probably going to involve coming into the med spa or into the practice more than once, right?
Yeah, it's really hard when you're a caregiver, and a lot of us become nurses and doctors and practitioners because of our nature of helping people. And when you transition to aesthetics or regenerative medicine, you kind of feel like you might have that salesy component to it, but it's really not the case. If you're not giving your patient all of the information, you're not doing them justice. I can recommend something from CVS just as easily as I could recommend something sitting on my shelves. But at the end of the day, it needs to work for their skin type. It needs to work for their budget. And the treatment plan is really important because you have to start with realistic outcomes for them and realistic goals and set those expectations up front, so that they're not disappointed, and explain why is it going to take 9 months to get from here to there. It's not surgery. I have quite a few women coming in, they want this, and that's a process. Sometimes it's not surgery, and you want to, I guess you want to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that at your practices around the Newport Beach area there, that you really have that kind of boutique and bespoke approach to serving your clientele in the area. It differs from location to location, and certainly from business to business, practice to practice. But what you mentioned there, as far as that consultative approach, that developing a treatment plan, how do you do that? Do you typically have an in-depth consultation for new clients? I'd love to. I think it'd be valuable for the listeners to understand a little bit more about how you approach that. Maybe.
Well, the first thing I do is just kind of develop a rapport with my patient. I'll ask them, how they heard about me, what brought them in, try to get something personal about them, some information. Do they have kids? What sports do your kids play? Something to kind of like break the ice. But at the end of the day, I usually have a notepad where I have a face on it. I have photos that I can reference, and then we kind of talk about it. But at the very, very beginning, I love to compliment my clients. I mean, there's always something beautiful in every face, something unique, something, that I always, absolutely always see in their features that I want to start with. I want to lead with complimenting and highlighting their attributes that are beautiful. Because if you hand a mirror to a patient, they're going to tear themselves apart, and it's kind of, I feel the responsibility to help kind of put that back together and show them the path that can make them feel a little better.
I love that, and yeah, your caregiving approach there just really bleeds through. That's awesome. What would you say, Mika, are, as part of the show, we talk about kind of what's hot and trends in the industry, and things are moving along so fastly. There's been so much development in the aesthetics industry and regenerative medicine component over the last number of years as well. What are you seeing as some of the kind of the hottest trends, or things that are making waves within that general aesthetics and even regenerative medicine space right now?
That's such a space that's so exciting. I've just come back from the A4M conference, where I got to hear a lot of speakers that were really passionate about stem cells and exosomes. Right now, a lot of companies are coming out with their version of polynucleotides, which have gained popularity on social media as the fish sperm facial. And it's kind of funny and it sounds silly, but at the end of the day, the science behind the exosomes and the stem cells are really difficult to ignore. Even with PRP and using that in the aesthetic way, to kind of get rid of under eye hollows, rebuild that tissue underneath your skin. The tools we have, like Easy PRF gel and Dermagel, are taking your own plasma and using it as a type of a filler, which has opened the doors for a lot of men to kind of think, oh, I'm not getting filler, I'm getting volume from my own plasma, my own blood. It's kind of given me, even here in Newport Beach, I have a lot of men come in for Dermagel, where they might not have come in for filler before. And then that opens up a conversation for possibly talking to them about laser treatments or neuromodulators. But the regenerative space really starts on the inside. What you put in your mouth, if you're putting garbage in your body, it's going to be really hard to nourish your skin. It's going to be really hard to get that shine, it's going to be really hard to get that glow that you can from within. If you don't have the right nutrients in your body, you're going to have dull skin, you're going to have less energy, and beauty comes from within ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Going back to kind of that confidence and the beauty from within, and so many exciting things there as well when it comes to what you said. Totally resonated too with the the fillers and men, and just within the industry. It's all about, over the years, been education, kind of changing perceptions and making people feel comfortable with taking that step to getting the outcome right, because they want that improvement, they want that enhancement, but sometimes there's a misconception about even the word fillers, for example, with some folks. Yeah. I'd love to hear from you, Mika. What do you see? Are there any other common, misconceptions, misperceptions that you see exist that you would rather make go from the industry?
Well, I see a lot of patients requesting, they've seen the image of filler stuck in their face for years and years, and they're talking about how scared they are. And I feel like that's kind of a misconception. That's not going to be ultimately what's harming them. What maybe is harming the image of all that is the history of being overfilled, or trends that have given women the BBL or things like that are really exaggerated. So that I feel like the natural look and incorporating a lot more regenerative aesthetics into the space is going to be a huge trend in the coming years, especially because it's also improving your health. And there's been studies, if you're improving your health and welfare, if you're improving your health from the inside, it reflects your skin's shinier, it's less dull, the quality of your skin is better. And even with NAD treatments, we're finding a lot of anti-aging benefits, some cardiac benefits, autoimmune benefits, and all of these incorporated with peptides and aesthetics. And we have so many tools available now. It's really exciting for my industry and for the things I specialize in. And even something that you might not think of, like hormones. Having your hormones balanced is huge. Hormones affect us so drastically when we're teens, but they also affect us drastically as we are older and we get in our 50s and our hair starts falling out and our skin starts to sag. Some of that can be addressed because your hormones are imbalanced.
Yeah. It's all right. There's so much that could be impacting so many things that tie together. And I think what you said as well, certainly we hear it a lot, we see it, is there's natural looking results. Number one, kind of on that aesthetic side, that's I think what patients are looking for. And I think with some of the innovations within different techniques and within different products are really enabling that a lot more. And certainly I know that you've been making a lot of advancements and working a lot within that regenerative space as well. And so would love to hear a little bit more, Mika, as far as, when it comes to that growth that you've seen within your business and within the different techniques and different services that you offer. Is there any particular strategy or a focus on anything specific that you've seen has contributed towards a direction that you're going and that you're bringing your businesses?
What's really contributing is kind of learning how to engage better with social media and being authentic with my message, because it's fun to be silly on social media, but at the end of the day, it is a valuable tool. It is a very powerful tool to communicate through social media. The top three fillers that can help you in a specific area, or the top three peptides that can help you achieve a certain outcome. It comes back to education, and the more knowledgeable our clients are, the better they can make decisions. But we can't do that when we're chasing trends, or we're constantly just drawing on our face. You have to really invest in your own education as a practitioner, and keep understanding, keeping up on journals, keeping up on the latest studies that have come out, because our aesthetics and our regenerative space changes. It seems like every 3 months, and that new information's coming out all the time.
Yeah, it does seem quite fast and furious. I think in a very in a good way, but you have to kind of disseminate that information, and certainly on the practice side is really decide what's in the patient's best interest. And there's a lot of different products out there. How do you do that? How do you not only assess what's best for you and the way that you treat your patients?
Well, I try not to get hung up on keeping up with the Joneses or the popular trends that are on social media. I spend a lot of time traveling around the world, around across the country, and I'm huge on collaborating and networking. If I meet someone and they're doing something different, I ask them about it, and I'm like, how is that working for you? Why is it working? What do you like about it? How are you using it differently? A lot of times things are, I've learned so much from other practitioners that maybe do a cannula a little different, or do their mixtures a little different when it comes to the Sculptura or something. They're baseline ways to do things that are safe and effective, and there are other safe and effective ways that have been tested, and it's so interesting. I never think that I know the most. I always am open to ideas and collaborating. And even now, when I feel like, oh, I know this, I've got that, I'll meet someone and they'll do something totally different, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, it's so obvious, why didn't I think of that? So it's fun.
I love it. I love that. Just that student, that curiosity, that student mindset, always be learning. That's one of our mantras here, is just 1% better every day. And I think there's so many opportunities for everybody to do that, to improve every day in every way. Yeah. So when it comes to that, the traveling and the continuous education, you've been growing your business, growing your career, growing as a professional, as a person. Do you see, or have you seen patterns of maybe mistakes or common mistake that you see other providers or other med spas making, and any advice on how they can maybe look at those things and fix them?
Absolutely. And I'm guilty of the same. I get so excited, I kind of dive in and I think I can do everything. But you really can't. You really need a team around you on any budget. It's impossible to be the best practitioner, learn the best and most safe techniques, and be the best marketer or be the best at SEOs. There's a lot of practitioners that are good at social media, but there's so much more. You have to really be versed on legal aspects, on financials, and how to run a business, how to set things up so you actually are visible. I could be the best injector or the best, PRP practitioner in the world, but if I'm not communicating that correctly with my website or my social media, no one's going to know I exist. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't need help in those areas. And I think we need to acknowledge that it's, teamwork makes the dream work at any budget.
I love it. My kids are sick of hearing me say that one. Teamwork makes the dream work, but it's so true. It really is so true. I love what you said there, Mika. If you look back on your career, is there, and if you could go back almost in time and give that previous version of yourself, younger in your career, one piece of advice, what do you think that would be?
Wow. I would give I spent a lot of time kind of being insecure because it was new for me, or not being asking questions because everyone's doing it that way. So now I push back and I say, well, why is that? That doesn't sound right. Or, there's some things that people do off label because they saw it on TikTok. And I would just watch and observe. And now I'm like, no, that's not safe. We need to talk about that. And so, it's been a learning curve for sure. But I think if I would go back, I would have engaged probably a business consultant earlier, so that I wouldn't have I wouldn't spend so much time fighting myself on things I'm not good at.
Well, yeah, definitely having, like you said, that coach in your corner, that person who's there and invested for your growth is important. And when it comes to that as well, just when it comes to growing the business and kind of overcoming some of those challenges, is there any particular routines or habits or things that you've developed over the years to help you to stay sharp and to really be that best version of yourself for you and for your clients?
I think the best thing to do, and sometimes it's hard, is to kind of see the best in your team around you. I feel so lucky that I have people around me that are positive, because we have the stigma of a very vain industry, right? And everyone's like, oh, you're doing this for your vanity. And I'm like, no, there's been times when I've just touched someone's face and they've got tears in their eyes because someone hasn't touched just their face, tenderly in so long. So it's not just about someone's vanity. People put up walls and personas just to kind of mask their sadness or their insecurities. And I just think it's important to have our industry acknowledge that in the best, most authentic way they can. But
yeah, love what you said there. It kind of ties back to as well what you just mentioned with that, that advice, or not getting caught up in the the shiny object syndrome, or the flavor of the month, the flavor of the minute, which is kind of can be a challenge for, we used to say it could be a challenge for, the kids and the teenagers, but really for everybody, because we've got our social media feeds, we've got information coming at us, and there's all this comparison things going on. And so I think, just having that, like you said earlier, having those goals and reminding yourself, keeping and maintaining a good mindset, so crucial for people in the world, and also for business owners as well. So that was awesome to hear. Thanks for sharing that. Mika, one of the favorite things that we like to do here as well is to do our rapid fire round. So got a few fun questions to throw at you. Don't overthink it, but if you're ready, we'll click the button and get going with the rapid fire.
Let's do it.
All right. So here's the question. If you were not in aesthetics, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be an OR nurse. I would be an OR nurse,
All
or
right.
I'd be, yeah.
Cool. And I should have known that one from speaking to you earlier as well, but good answer. How about, what would you say is your go-to way to unwind after a crazy day or a really busy week?
Glass of wine. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
We'll have to, count the numbers. It's a popular answer.
No,
Any favorite glass of wine?
I'm a cab girl. I love a good Cabernet.
All right. How about, is there a specific, a favorite, I know you travel a lot, this could be a difficult question, but a favorite industry show or event that you love to attend?
Wow, that's a tough one. I try to go annually to Aesthetic Next. It's not only fun, it has varying levels of information. I have yet to do the AMWC, I believe, the World Congress, and that's next on my list.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, cool. Some fun travels coming up. All right. How about for the last question, rapid fire round? What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Gosh, don't take yourself too seriously in front of the camera.
Good. Well, always good to remember. I was on a show recently, and one of my favorites was very, very similar, which is don't sweat the small stuff. Don't take yourself seriously. So I love it. Yeah. Mika, between your growth in your career, going from the caregiving, the ER, speaking about the OR, through your journey through aesthetics, it's super exciting. And in so many ways, I know from speaking with you, I wouldn't say like you're just getting started, but you've got this exciting so many new chapters that you're about to start writing. What's coming up next for you in your career?
I hope to continue to build the practices that I'm engaged with. I'd love to do a little bit more training quarterly, and then, kind of expand. I would love to scale. I'm not very, I'm exploring that right now. But yeah, scaling and continuing to train is where I see myself going.
Love it. Love it. Sounds like a fun growth curve there. Mika, what would be the best way for anybody listening or seeing the video? What would be the best way for people to learn more about what you do or potentially connect with you?
The best way to connect with me would be through Instagram at Injector Mika. I answer my DMs, and it has my link tree on there. All my information's on my Instagram.
Awesome. Perfect. Fantastic. Well, Mika, again, one incredible journey, from the ERs, the ORs, the regenerative medicine, everything that you're doing with clients. It's been a real pleasure to get to have met you recently, and a true pleasure to have you on the Aesthetics Growth podcast today as well. So thanks so much for joining. Really hope you enjoyed it.
Well, thanks, Bref. I really appreciate you.
Fantastic.
This is the Aesthetics Growth Podcast.